A very good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk, a program where we highlight political issues concerning Nigeria and how to move the country forward. My name is Ubong Osoro, welcoming you to the program. Tonight on the show, we take a look at electoral promises and promises made by our politicians before they get into office. And are we getting the dividends of those promises? Are those promises kept? Some persons will say promises kept, promises made, promises fulfilled. All right, so tonight on the program, we'll have Honorable Gyang, we'll call him GDG, who's joined us tonight on the program. Thank you so much, Honorable, for coming on our program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we'll talk about the electoral promises. We see a lot since the return to democracy in 1999. Although our debating system and ideological system is not so strong as a people, as to interrogate politicians based on idea, but we still see the posters where people will see capacity, transparency, tested and trusted. But questions also arise. How many of these politicians keep to these promises that they make to Nigerian people, the masses? For instance, the APC in 2015 came up with the promise that they are going to fight corruption, they will end insecurity, and they will also develop Nigeria's economy. But till today, a lot of Nigerians still have questions as to how they were able to handle this. So welcome to the program once again.
Thank you so much, sir.
Let's start with the question. Nigerian politicians, do they keep to the promises that they make?
Well, thank you so much, Ubon, for having me. Like I know, for the sake of my viewers, I'm Gyang Dungyang from Jos Plateau State, but reside and based here in Abuja. Also contesting for the position of the House of Representatives to represent the good people of Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency. On the questions you've raised, Nigeria is an interesting nation, and we are still growing. We are still trusting God that one day this nation will rise to its occasion to live our full potential, where our leaders' word will become their bone. And to be honest, the campaign, the election promises, and whether the leaders are delivering or not, actually, to some certain level, there are those putting in their best, because no matter how we feel or think that the leaders or the politicians are not keeping to their promises, but to some large extent there are exceptions. There are those who are putting on their best. Thank you.
All right, so for those who are not putting in the work and are not doing what they said they would do during the campaign period, what are some of the reasons why they come out, they say this is what we do, and at the end of the day, no excuse, no explanation, and just blanking the people? Are there reasons?
Well, there are quite a number of reasons that I feel that should be to that effect. To be honest, there are leaders who it's basically because of lack of commitment to leadership and then service to the people, because most of the leaders are not prepared. Right. They found themselves, they joined politics because they saw others living extravagant life, enjoying life, going out with the convoy. So it attracts a lot of people. You know, there are different reasons why people join politics and even other endeavors. Others may be out of excitement, but leadership is preparation, and leadership is service. So if you don't have those foundational truths, if you don't have those foundational concepts about leadership, definitely when given a leadership position, the person will be in between the deep blue sea. They don't know what to do. You are carried out with the euphoria of leadership, the benefit, and all those things around it. It blindfolds your eyes, and before you know, time will pass without any tangible result that you'll be able to deliver for the interests of the people.
Right, so let's look at Nigeria's leadership recruitment system. Some of the things that we've noticed in the system is we've noticed appointment, we've noticed it's a system where some form of elite control, where some persons are able to, decide who gets into a leadership office. Some political exposed, powerful persons are controlling or bringing forth the choices that we have to make. Do you think this is a problem? To put it into proper perspective, what is called godfatherism? Do you think it limits people being able to implement ideas of leadership?
Well, to be honest with you, as pertains this country and our leadership recruitment I talk about, something is fundamentally wrong in that aspect. And to be honest with you, our leaders, their loyalty is not well defined. Okay. Now loyalty is to persons, not to institution or to a cause. So, but for me, I see loyalty as first to a cause and then second to a person. So the leadership recruitment process is basically surrounded with a lot of sentiment, regional sentiment, tribal sentiment, religious sentiment, and then the political class who are the helms of affairs controlling this tend to strike a balance. I need to appease. This one was my strong supporter. This one was standing with me. This one was the one that was my campaign DG. I need to appease them. I need to give them a slot. And then in those processes, you will discover that they bring in incompetent people that are ill-prepared to handle such responsibility at that level. So I think as times progresses, as a nation, we'll keep advocating that our leadership recruitment process should be checkmate and ensure that it meets with global standard. And there are basic knowledge or preparations or training that a person should undergo before being entrusted with certain leadership responsibilities.
All right, so we've even seen those who have transitioned from maybe the private sector, from government positions, maybe grew to become a permanent secretary, director, and transition into politics. Yeah. Is that a leadership training? And we've also seen people who, from done with their universities, all that they've done is they've done politics as a trade. They've done politics as an occupation. But some persons say politics is just supposed to be, it's not supposed to be an occupation. What's your idea around doing politics as a full-time job?
Well, like I told you, we're still an underdeveloped nation. There are areas we're still trusting God that as time progresses, we'll get there. But to be honest with you, leadership, it all depends on the concept or where somebody is coming from, depends on our background. But for me, leadership is called to service. And when you are called, you need to prepare yourself, you need to get to learn the rudiments and the principles of leadership. And politics here, anybody can become once you follow politicians around and then you run errands for them. Before you know, they transition you from like a PA, you become a House of Reps or a House of Assembly or to a local government chairman, and from there the person keeps transiting from one position to another. In the history of Nigeria, we have leaders like that who started from running errands for elites or their principal, and they transition to a higher peaks in political positions. So I think that those are the issues surrounding our leadership performance as it refers to our nation's Nigeria. So I think the best thing we should do as a nation is to begin to look at how can we improve in those areas, so that we can have better versions of leaders after leaders and after leaders.
All right, so just for more clarity, so are you saying that transitioning shouldn't be from maybe you're done with service, you've done 35 years and you now want to transition into politics, and also that route of being a PA to a politician? Which one prepares leaders better?
Well, in terms of practical experience, those that have found themselves within the corridors of power or having proximity with the elite, it gives them a better advantage. But the question there is, what orientation do they have? What kind of mentorship? How is he being modeled? You get the point. So some people, you have a leader who doesn't have regard for rule of law. You have leaders who doesn't care about the citizens' welfare and security. So you just see leadership is where you muzzle out power to your own advantage and to acquire wealth and all of this. So there should be a reorientation. There should be a system that checkmates what are the motives. Why is this person venturing into politics? And for people that just graduated from the university and want to venture in, yes, there should be a process. They should join, maybe start from political party leadership, and then from there, gradually they will learn, and eventually they get into power. And there are those that transit from the private sector to governance,
right, yeah.
And their mindset is usually different because from the private sector it is result driven,
right.
While in the public sector the bureaucratic nature surrounding the public sector alone becomes like an impediment to progress and then the needed development.
All right. So another thing that we've seen, as some persons have mentioned, that this is a challenge, is that offering yourself to lead in Nigeria is not easy, and it requires some level of push, maybe financially. You need to know the power brokers, and at the end of the day, because now a lot of states that we've seen, in Kano, for instance, the other day we heard former Governor Kwankwaso who said it seems like betrayal. He never thought that Abba Yusuf will, leave the NNPP at the time that he left. We've also seen issues, of course, in the front burners every day on River State, where the former Governor Nyesom Wike, the current FCT minister, has been talking about similar Fubara, the governor, saying, some persons have said, he made you governor. Without him, you would not have been governor. Are these impediments to leaders delivering on the promises they made during elections?
Well, it contributes because, like I said earlier, the process in which you follow to emerge in any leadership position whatsoever has the potential to limit you or even helps you achieve more. Because that's where godfatherism and then fulfilling election promises, because your godfather you may have entered into agreements, and those agreements, when you get into the office, you will discover that you cannot achieve what you intend to achieve. So definitely it will affect your performance as a governor. So those godfatherism in Nigerian context is really, really an issue. Yes, there are several ways that God uses people to raise people, and of course, but it shouldn't go to the extent of becoming like a hindrance to allowing people to exercise their duties by law in the interest of the citizen. So there should be a balance. There should be a balance.
But for those who, before going into this leadership, they agree, they accept, because that has been another angle to it. People say you agreed and you knew that these were some of the agreements that was reached before you went into that particular agreement and say, okay, I'm going to do this, Your Excellency. And just maybe months into it, you renege on that agreement. Is that also moral?
Well, in Nigeria they said, let me get there first. But of a truth, we are in a times that integrity is at stake. We find it based on the nature of our political system here. it is difficult for people to be trusted. So people just anyhow, let me get into power. So, but we trust God that with time, there should be adjustment.
Okay, so you believe that all of this will not have these systems again. But even in the US, like people look at, we have politically strong families who do a lot of contribution, and even donors who contribute to politics.
Yeah, political godfatherism is there. There are, yes. But of course, it's also part of the system because you must start from somewhere. And there are people that must have held your hands to grow to that level. So they expect some certain level of loyalty and commitment to some of the things they would want to still have a stake in your leadership.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely, it's important. But I am trusting God that with time, it shouldn't go to the extent of affecting the citizens. It should be managed in such a way that it shouldn't affect the entire governance process.
Do you believe that we have institutions in Nigeria that can hold these leaders accountable and said, sir, you promised ABC? Do we have such institutions, or even the people themselves? Are we able to hold leaders accountable? As you just do a survey through the Nigerian leadership system, do you think that there are leaders maybe were denied second term on the basis that they didn't perform? Do we have such systems in Nigeria?
Yeah, we have such system in Nigeria. Through public hearings or use social media to engage your leaders. We lay our complaints and express our dissatisfaction or our satisfaction, and then reminding them that this is what you promised, this is your commitment to us before we elect you or voted you into office. The Constitution provided that there are public hearings where the citizens can engage with the elected officials, and then you can partner together with the CSO,
the civil society organization.
You partner with them. There are several means that the citizen can actually held leaders or representative accountable.
But the question is, do people actually make use of those channels? And is it an effective channel? As a politician, you are one, and you get into office, you promise something, and you are not able to do, and you lose sleep over it, knowing that when you get back to the people, you will be interrogated very firmly on those issues.
Yes, yeah, of a truth. To be honest with you, Mr. Ubong, the election promises are their commitment made by the leader that if you vote me into this office, this is what I will do. But we shouldn't forget the fact that the constitutions of Nigeria also have defined roles that each leader can do. Like we have the three arms of government, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. So the executive have their own roles, the legislators have their own roles. So sometimes, even if you are making those promises, you have to look at your limitations. Because some people went extra mile to make commitment of things that are not achievable.
Right.
So one of the clear indicators of a serious or a committed or a prepared leader is for you to be able to make clear, achievable goals with time frames.
Right.
Looking at what are the constitutional constraints you have, what are the things you can do, what are the things you cannot achieve, so that you don't overboard. Like I said, we are emerging leaders, and by the grace of God, we are not saying the other leaders have not put in their best, but we are making effort to see that we become an improved version of what we have.
All right, so, okay, yeah, let's talk about the other leaders that you mentioned. One of the things that we've heard people say is that maybe we have a young activist who just came out and said, I want to be president of Nigeria. People will say, go to your village, go to your ward and be a councillor first, and go and be a chairman of a local government first, go and start somewhere. You cannot just come to be Nigeria's president, and we see that a lot. Do you think that's a fair assessment for people who have vision and they have an idea of how they could change Nigeria? Most people always go to start, somewhere and keep moving up the rank of leadership.
Well, politics is local, and it has to do with the voters. The people that vote for election are not just in the city centers. So politics is local. But that idea of telling people to go back to their villages, becomes councillors of these, is not entirely wrong, and it's not completely a good bargain. To be honest with you, there are people that can start at any level. It depends on their own.
Have you been a councillor before?
I've never been.
So you want to start at House of Representatives?
Well, I have involved in politics to a large extent. Right. I have worked with politicians to a large extent. So I have a little of my own experience. I have little experience in that regard. So, and why I am going into the House of Reps is because I felt I am prepared, adequately prepared. Because I know that there is no job, no matter how qualified you are. There are people that have been in the National Assembly 3-4 times. But there are those that have been there for the first time, they're performing more than them. Mm-hmm. So it's not about the experience others have gathered. We have leaders in Nigeria who have been governors, who are senators, but they are underperforming. There are those that came newly, they are doing better than those that have been there. So leadership is entirely about preparedness. You have to be prepared. You have to understand what you are going into. You have to know the solutions you want to proffer to your people. Right. That is it. It's not about where you start. You can, if your scope of understanding can carry you, if your knowledge, if your capacity, you have built a needed capacity to handle such responsibility, you can go on. By the way, the Constitution is there that once you are 35, yes, you can contest for any elective position, even to a president of Nigeria. Right. And history has it that we have leaders that have emerged head of state at their early 20s and 30s.
Right. 30s and 20s. Yeah, you brought a discussion. Let's just stay there for we'll have a lot of them, like you mentioned, in their late 30s, late 20s, and early 30s. The likes of Murtala Muhammad, we had Yakubu Gowon, even former late President Muhammad Buhari, Olusegun Obasanjo, Murtala Muhammad, and the rest of them. But do we still have this kind of processes where young people, because like I mentioned, let me even mention a name, it's in public domain, Omoyele Sowore, he's been wanting to be a Nigerian president in 2019 with the AAC and in 2023. But if you go on social media and see, some persons will say, go to your place and start from there. Why are we not having these very young persons now? Because if you look at everybody, the 2019 general elections, for instance, that were trying to be Nigerian's president, at least the forerunners, the ones who were very pronounced in the public space. You could see late President Muhammad Buhari, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was there, and those are names that have been around for quite a number of times. 2023, we had Peter Obi, right, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Those are household names, and even as we move towards 2027, it seems that, except anything changes, it's still going to be the regular names that we've heard. How is our leadership structure, training up leaders? And I know we do not have independent candidature. Is that why emerging through the political parties seems to be so dragged to those who've been around for quite a number of years?
Well, like I will just tell you in summary that the youth need to rise up.
The Nigerian
Because
youth.
power cannot be given to you when you are sleeping in your house. The youth need to rise.
How?
They need to wake up from this belief, waiting that it will just happen. It will start from somewhere. Like I don't so much believe in those people saying Sowore should go and start from there. Sowore is somebody I know, and I believe he have the capacity to be Nigerian president. You know, sometimes when you've not tested somebody, you will not know what he can offer. But following the activities, the antecedents, the firm belief, and the ideological movement of somebody like Sowore, I believe if given the opportunity, he can do better. But saying that he should go and start somewhere, one of the major problems we have as Nigerian youth is that we complain, we react, but we don't make actions.
How do we make the actions?
Is first of all to aspire and desire to see that Nigeria works. And how will it work? We must come out, we must rise up, we must advocate and support candidates that we felt they will represent best interests of Nigeria, that will bring progress, development, the needed development of this country.
Don't you think the Nigerian youth did that in 2023 with Peter Obi? 6 million votes, first time being on ballot.
They tried. Nigerian youth tried, but to try once is not enough. We have to keep trying. There's no need giving up. It's a journey. There's no need giving up. We know there are some of the leaders like Buhari. How many times late President Muhammadu Buhari contested for president? Many times. He later won. That's resilient spirit is very important.
Maybe that's why Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is still contesting.
Well, if it's God have destined him, he will be a president, he will be. Yeah, if God, everybody has his own convictions. So if he believes he will still be president one day, why not?
Right.
And his aspiration does not stop any other person from aspiring to be president of Nigeria or any other positions.
Right, so we have institutions in Nigeria like the Independent National Electoral Commission, we have the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, and we have the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, FCC, and INEC as it were. And these are, INEC conducts elections, and ICPC, and EFCC, they look at economic and financial crimes. Do you think that these institutions that we have in Nigeria are able to hold leaders accountable? At least INEC, being the body that regulates election, could hold election offenders accountable, because it starts there. If somebody cannot live by the rules of the game, campaigns are open, campaigns are done with some persons are still campaigning. We saw that in 2020 general elections, and it was everywhere. But at the end of the day, nobody was held to account, little or not, nobody. And even with the cases we have with the institutions, a lot of persons feel the cases are against political opponents and all of that. What can you advise, and what do you think these institutions can do to make people have more faith and trust in them? Because when we started, you talked about institutions being very vocal and very focused, vocal in Nigeria's journey towards having a democracy that we'll all be proud of.
Well, like I say, the EFCC, all the anti-graft, the ICPC, and the INEC have an important role in building public trust. Like the INEC has to do with the election process. They're the one that the managers of Nigerian electoral and democratic process. Right. The process that brings in leaders at all levels. So how they manage those process has a long way to contribute. It will contribute so much in building public trust and helping the general public to have confidence in what you are going to do. But the youth have a general belief that if you are contesting election, if you don't know this, if you don't know that, if you don't know somewhere, INEC is what the people in power will do, that they will have their way. No, we must keep pushing. We must keep believing, and we'll keep talking, keep advocating, and then keep speaking our mind to contribute to their effective roles The same thing with the EFCC, they help in fighting crimes within the system to make the system viable for development and then for national unity and progress. So I feel that those institutions plays a very important role, and they are trying their best, but we hope that more can be done.
Right, okay. About Nigeria's institutions, you actually said they are trying their best. All right, okay. But let's see, in practical terms now, we know we have various tiers of governments. We know the federal government, we have the state government, and the local government. I'd like to ask, which do you think is more vibrant politically, and which do you think of all of this delivers the campaign promises they make the most? Is it the federal, the states, and the local government? Some persons say we don't hold states governors accountable.
Well, to me, you cannot really say it's the federal, the state, or the local government. It all depends. There are local government that are putting in their best. There are those that are not putting. So when you generalize it, it may be just be 10% out of 100% of the local government. So when you in the governors, there are states that are doing well. Like I've been following what is happening in
Akwa Ibom, one of the major states.
This OT.
Okay, Alex Otti, that's Abia State.
That's Abia State, yes. He's trying, and the Nigerians are applauding him for doing well. There are governors that are trying. There are those that are still not trying. And like my state governor, he's also putting in his best, Caleb Mutfwang. He's also putting his best. There are a lot of transformative development that are ongoing on the state, like in the transport sector, the health sector, and all of that. So it's not something you can just generalize and say is this local government level that are putting their best, or the federal or the state. So we have fraction of them that are putting in their best in performing, doing wonderfully well for their people.
Do you think Nigeria's leadership system is so lucrative that that is why some persons have said, let's make the salaries, let's make political offices very unattractive, and maybe even for you, if it was unattractive, some persons say, let's pick the salaries of Nigeria's presidents with the salaries of professors. You know, it was 650, 600, and maybe with these new agreements being signed, can get to 1.2 million. Let's know that everything the president gets at the end of the month is 1.2 million. And do you think that's a solution to solving Nigeria's constant leadership problems?
Well, to be honest with you, then it depends on the responsibility and the roles that individual takes. Like this National Assembly member, you see their roles, the responsibility before them is different from that of a lecturer in the university. Even though we are trusting God that the government will look into how to improve in certain areas, whether in salaries or whatever. But I think saying that professors, national assemblies, and the president is a serious issue, and then we trust God as time goes on that we get.
I'd like to stay with that question. Nigeria's legislators earn almost one of the highest in the world, and some Nigerians have said, do you think, because if, according to the analysis now, is if we have them earn the same like professors earn, it will be unattractive, and a lot of persons, people will go there, will be people who really want to do service.
Well, Africa, we're still coming up, and I know one day we'll get there. But to be honest, our cost of governance is actually high, and is alarming, and is affecting our economy and our institutional strength as a nation. Because one of the strong indicators of having a strong nation is to build institutions. When you have strong institutions, then you have a system that automatically guarantees certain realities for the interests of that nation. So we're trusting God that will be looked into.
All right, so let's talk about Jos now. A very beautiful place.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And but you've had a series of conflicts over the years. As a young person and a major politician from that place, how are you contributing to to your people, and what are some of the things you've done for your people?
Well, like I said, we are emerging leaders. We are still coming up. There's so much we can do, and there are limitations to what we can do.
Right.
And to be honest with you, the state have suffered a lot of crises. Let me not say crisis, it's just banditry attacks here and there, and it has been so bad. There are a lot of people in the IDPs, and it's affecting the economy and the socio-economic of the state, the economic system of the state. And then secondly, is even food security is also affecting it, because a lot of farmers can no longer farm in their farmlands. So as a young man, we've just been advocating that government should be on their feet, and the government, to be fair with them, they have been on their feet, they have put in their best, and trusting God that one day to end, even though the situations is more of the federal government need to do so much than the state government, because we know from our constitution the security is merely federal government responsibility. The governors have a lot of limitations to how far they can go.
Right, but in terms of, do you think, away from maybe just using the kinetic forces, the federal government sending troops, there could be mediations and thoughts to get to understand what are the root causes that causes the problem, and how do we sort it out?
Well, to be honest with you, security issues, especially in Nigeria, is deeper than what we can think. So I'm sure that we trust God for our leaders to be sincere enough and then approach this issue decisively. Is more of religious and political.
Right.
You understand? But we are trusting God that the federal government and the government will be on their feet to ensure that they put this to rest.
All right. So how can a House of Representative member attract projects to his people?
Well, it's simple. Is to advocate for federal institutions establishment in the state, federal institution that benefits the constituents, the people. Like, for instance, maybe establishment of institutions like university, colleges that addresses educational issues. And then number two is for you to advocate for federal government, advocate and secure federal funding, maybe funding in areas, in key projects that addresses the people's need, like in terms of road construction, like hospital, healthcare, and so on and so forth. And then number two is to also advocate federal government programs that has to do with skill acquisition, for empowerment and skill development. And then you have to influence policies, work together with the influence policies that seeks to address the needs of your people. Basically, those are the ways that a legislator can actually attract the federal government presence to his constituents, or to the benefit of his people.
So one of the major problems we've seen all across Nigeria, and even when it comes to election, people keep mentioning it, is a problem of unemployment and underemployment.
Yes.
How do you think that we can, solve this away from just making campaign promises, but we have it solved? And I know people can say no country has actually conquered unemployment, but we can do our best and stem the tide.
That's true. Well, regarding the issue of unemployment, I think there are other approaches that a legislator or any leader at whatever level can also engage with to help in that area of unemployment and underemployment. Number one is empowerment. And what are those empowerment? Empowerment like skill acquisition, and then those that are into businesses, like all those people that are hawking, also empower farmers, help them in, by distribution of subsidized fertilizers, and so many things. But employment, you can also engage and partner with organizations for training, and then maybe job placement, and so on and so forth. So these are the areas that I feel a legislator can actually engage to attract or help in area of unemployment and underemployment.
Right. So
because depending on government to employ everybody or engage everybody in the federal or state or local government is not possible because of our growing population, and then in as much as we're still trusting God for grace as a nation, right, to be able to improve.
All right, so we see a pattern where some legislators will, inside their office, they will take pictures with their constituents, which they were able to facilitate job placements for them, and take pictures and say 16 persons I facilitated 16 opportunities for people into federal agencies in Nigeria, and this and that. But to some persons, it's worrisome because we do not see when those organizations put out placements. There was no advertisements for jobs, but you just see people appear, we've gotten employment, and we've started working. Do you think that's a good system to recruit the best hands? And what of those who are not close to legislators or those who do not know politicians like yourself? Like me, I do not know any politicians. So how do people like myself and people who are not close to politicians or get involved in Nigeria's systems?
Well, like you said, yes, we have what we call the federal character and the civil service commissions. These are agencies that ensures that every employment, every region benefit, every state benefit. And most time, like a federal lawmaker, one those opportunities supposed to reach your people is your responsibility to ensure that it reach them. But I am not in support of, I'm not in total support of those activities of posting and securing jobs. It looks as if the jobs are now somewhere for some people to just pick and go and give some people. So it does not really speak well of what, but if due process are being
followed. Because I don't see that. I follow a lot of foreign lawmakers. I do not see them take pictures with their constituents and say we facilitated opportunity for you in NASA or the U.S. Space Agency. I don't see that.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's just the issue of a system, and you know, politics mean different things to different people, and our approach to leadership sometimes. There are issues, we are still trusting God to be able to grow and reach a certain level so that our system and institutions will be stronger enough to manage such excesses.
All right, so one of the things I'd like to talk to you about is the issue of recalling federal lawmakers and even recalling senators. Of recent, we've not really been very active, citizens understanding that power. But of recent, we saw with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan of Kogi State, where the constituents wanted to recall her, and whether it was politics or whether she's in your party or whether it was in politics, but at least it wanted to be tested. But people drew a lot of political lines into that, and even with impeachment processes. Recently, there's a governor, Similayo Fubara, who is going through, some attempts of impeachment, and people are drawing and saying, "No, why should we impeach?" So how do we use the powers that we have as citizens to chastise those we have in leadership if they are not delivering on promises?
Well, To be honest with you, recalling our leaders, like the National Assembly, is actually, there is a constitutional process. But of course, in our context as a nation, politics has dominated that procedure, because for the citizens to even achieve that, it will cost them a lot. And especially now, you want to call on, start the calling process of somebody who is in the ruling party. So it's going to be like an attack to that ruling party. So they will not even want to hear anything in that regard. So, but there is a constitutional process of recalling our leaders, of which the constituents have the right and there are process. But it's just that in this part of the world, it takes almost forever to achieve that. And the process is usually involved with a lot of politics. It's a lot of politics, a lot of political playing around that issue of recalling. Like issue of Rivers State has a entire big issue on its own, but it's politics. You can see from it, the governor now is in APC, and then the lawmakers, the House of Assembly, are also in APC. So the impeaching or the sitting governor in the ruling party, you can see calls coming from all angles to stop that. But summarily, it's politics, but there's a constitutional process of recalling leaders in Nigeria.
Right. So I'd like to talk about how difficult it is to obtain forms in political parties, especially the prominent one like your party, the People's Democratic Party. In the 2023 general elections, we saw the APC selling their presidential tickets for 100 million naira. And your party, it wasn't that cheap, 80 million naira, the PDP it was at the time. And as somebody will ask, I do not know, for maybe we want to get a House of Reps, I don't know how much your party, but I know it will be upwards of millions of naira. So, for young Nigerians, how some persons get loans to be able to do that, how does that improve our democracy?
Well, like the issue of the form and the prizes is entirely a political party decision, and PDP is an opposition party now, and I'm sure there should be considerations. But it's for us. We have been advocating that at least there should be a provision for people that are young like us, who we have not gathered the whole money to come and say we are going into politics and then obtaining forms in millions. But I'm sure the party at the appropriate level, they are working toward. I think my party also had a clause that talked about that encourages the youth to join the politics. I think the price is differently, but they have not really come out with any price for now. So we're trusting God that it will not be that. It will be encouraging. Right,
but you're still in the PDP.
Yes, I'm still in the PDP.
But your governor has moved from the party.
Well, I respect my governor. I honor him. He's somebody I admire, somebody we worked for, and we pray for him to succeed. And he succeeded even during he had a lot of a battle in the court, even to the Supreme Court, and God grant him victory at the Supreme Court. The court battle even affected all our National Assembly members, all our State House Assembly members. So the governor as a person and his government, we have no issue with him, and we are praying for him to succeed. Even though he has shifted to the APC, we are praying for him to succeed, and we're wishing him all the best. But some of us that are still in the PDP, is out of our shared conviction. We still believe that the PDP is still a better platform for now, that we can run our race in.
Right, so even the PDP, there seem to be leadership also. There's Abdurrahman and former and Samuel Anyanwu, who are chairman and secretary. There's also Tanimu Turaki and Tofek, chairman and secretary. Which of the leadership of the party are you in line with?
Well, at the state level, there's no any
ambiguity, right?
At the state level, we don't have any issue. We have one party structure. It's just leadership tussle at the national. And it's a family affair. And I'm very sure.
Is it still a family affair now? Is it the matters were taken to court?
No, it's a family affair. Brothers fight. It's just dispute, just a family dispute. And they are in court. And I'm sure the court will make appropriate verdict. And whichever way, the PDP is still alive.
So you still believe in the PDP?
Yeah, I still believe in.
For now?
Yes, I'm running my election there. I'm contesting under the PDP.
So, but let's look at the constant defection between politicians as we're trying to wind up the conversations now. We see politicians move from one political party to the other. Are you in sync with that? Do you think that it helps our democracy? And is it something, maybe one day I'll wake up and hear that Honorable Yan is no longer in the PDP, that you've gone to maybe the ADC or the Labour Party?
Well, just to be straight to you, the issue of defection is entirely at the discretion of everybody. It's at the entire discretion. But the only issue, the only concern that I say I have, or the general public or Nigerians are having, is that in a democracy, a one-party system is not healthy in a democratic system. Because it is when there is checks and balance, when there are oppositions, it helps and build a robust system. So that's just the fear. But issue of defection, everybody is entirely at his own discretion. And I'm sure there are also constitutional guidelines as to that effect. So we're trusting God that Nigeria, I'm sure, will not be at the one-party system. Things will align.
Right. So,
Thank
you have many of your friends in the APC. Are they making overtures to you to come over to the APC?
Well, in fact, I have a lot of people that I respect, so honored, and I hold them in high esteem that are in APC. And I don't want to join issue with them, and I always wish them the best, because leadership is entirely comes from God. That's my belief. It's not what you think. At the end of the day, you may not have your own plans, but God has his own plans.
So is the PDP still strong in Plateau State?
PDP is still strong. The governor won his election. PDP was not in power. It was APC that was in power. So PDP is still strong. Some members have followed the governor. Others are still there. So the PDP is still strong.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
It's my pleasure.
GDG. Honorable Diang is from Jos South and Jos East Federal Constituency. Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight, and we wish you all of the best in your desires and all of your aspirations.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you for having
me. And we hope that you don't go to the APC, but if you want to do, make sure you tell us before you move.
If God leads.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, people, that's the size of our program for tonight. Are we holding our leaders accountable? We keep having this conversation as we hope to have a Nigeria where we'll all be proud of. My name is Wong Osoro in Abuja, and I'm saying bye for now.